getting multiple piercings in one sitting. Going to go through the pros, the cons, advantages, disadvantages. Coming up next on Pros and Cons by Piercer, Season 2, Episode number 56. For those that are new here, first off, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. I hope you're finding the videos helpful, informative, all that fun stuff. And but you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. What we're going to talk about today, or I'm going to talk about, is getting multiple piercings done at once. Usually kind of a project thing, sometimes different areas. But we should probably go over some of the more common places where this happens. For example, on ear piercings, we might do multiple different ear piercings in one sitting. Eyebrows, multiple eyebrows, nostrils, both sides, stacked, etc. Lip groupings, all those bites, snake bites, spider bites, angel bites, and the 1,800 other ones. Then there is the tongue grouping, which is the venom, which is the only one I really suggest, or multiple midline piercings. Then, of course, we move into the torso, and one of the most common ones that we do two of at once, which is nipple piercings. After that comes male genital, which is kind of what sparked this. It was a comment by one of our viewers asking about the advantages or doing one on getting multiple genital piercings done. On males, you're looking at, or those born with male genitalia or have male genitalia, didoids, frenums. Frenum's probably the most common. Also, additionally, you would have scrotum piercings and possibly gish. On those with female genitalia, probably the most common are going to be labia. We do multiple labia piercings, minoras and majoras. So that's that. Let's get on to the pros, the advantages, things that make you go, yeah, that's a good idea. Starting with number one, getting it done. If you're working on a large project and you just get everything done at once, you're only going through that process once, so it's over and done with. Number two, you're only going through that healing one time. You're not going to have to come back and start the healing over and over again. So, for example, if you're doing a set of frenum piercings, you're going to get 3 of them done at a time, usually. So that means you're going through the healing instead of going through 3 separate time periods of healing, which will last probably close to a year, if not longer. If you did them, did one, healed it out, did one, healed it out, did one, healed it out. Number 3, often it's easier to match piercing placement when you're doing both of them at the same time. The body shifts, moves, migrates, etc. So sometimes lining them up that first time with fresh tissue is much easier than coming back a year or 2 later and trying to get those 2 piercings to match exactly right. Number 4, faster completing projects. If you can do 3 in one sitting, get it over with, heal those out, then do 3 more. If you're doing a large project like a Jacob's Ladder where you have a long period of them, or multiple female labia piercings, or a large ear project, or maybe 2 or 3 nostril piercings, or a set of eyebrows, it's much easier if you're doing 3 at a time opposed to doing 1 and then coming back and doing it. You kind of get that end result much quicker, so it makes it easier to kind of find that initial vision of what you want to do overall and stick with it. Then number 5 is cost. Most cases, depends on the piercing. If we are doing multiple piercings, we're going to give you a little bit of a break on cost, just basically because we have reduced setup costs. That's not always the case. There are some piercings that, due to the difficulty and the amount of time it takes to make sure that they match and they're done correctly, where we don't do that. Now it's time to move on to the cons. The disadvantages, the things that make you go, nope, I'd rather not do that. Number 1, slower healing and increased likelihood of infection. Because your body has a limited amount of resources to heal a piercing, tolerance, etc., and it just has that much energy to fight off foreign pathogens and invading microorganisms. You have a slightly increased likelihood of slower healing and the possibility of infection. So understand that it's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. The more piercings you have healing, the more likely you are to have slower healing and infection or other problems. Number 2, if the alignment's off on the first piercing, it's going to be off on all of them. The best example of this would be frenum piercings. If that first piercing is not dead on straight the way we want it, then since we match it to that one to make it look like they're a grouping, any additional ones are going to be off, and it's going to get worse the further you go into the process. Same thing with ear piercings. If you're doing some type of constellation-style design, maybe a straight line or a cross, if the first one's wrong, the rest of them are going to be wrong. Sometimes doing the piercing and then coming back and doing a second or third piercing, or realizing the first one is done incorrectly, abandoning it and having it re-pierced is a better option than having to do that with 3 piercings. Number 3, because you're piercing more of an area, it needs more isolation and more care. It's more prone to trauma because there's bigger targets involved. If you're doing like an upper ear cartilage, you do 3 of them in the flat, instead of just having one little spot that you need to avoid contact with, it is pretty much the whole area of the upper ear. Same thing with lip piercings. Instead of dealing with just one side, you're dealing with all sides. So you have to understand that that makes a much larger area that you need to avoid contact with. Number 4, it multiplies the level of adaptation. This is especially with piercings that are in the mouth. Instead of having one to deal with, you're dealing with multiple. It can affect eating, it can affect drinking, it can affect everything. And everything is multiplied times 2. Swelling's the same way. With genital piercings, it'll affect, intercourse because you have more to deal with. Now, and number 5 is multiple piercings increase in pain, meaning the first one hurts, the second one will hurt a little bit more, and often the last one will hurt even more. Basically, this is your body's alert system. It's telling you the first time, don't do that. It hurts. There's a reason it hurts. You're causing trauma. You're going to make me work harder, and you're opening a wound, and all the things that your body's supposed to warn you about. Then you do it again, and it's like, hey, bud, I told you not to do this the first time. Then you do it a third time, and it's like, you need to stop doing this now. So you need to understand that if you don't have a high pain threshold or you're not a lot of experience with pain, if you come in and get multiple piercings, there might be a slight increase in pain. Plus, the area is more agitated, so it tends to make everything a little bit more ouchy. Well, that's it. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. If you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future, and Shannon would too. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and check out one of these other videos and subscribe, of course.